welcome. So, we're going to talk about and read the last part of the first chapter of the Renaissance story today. So, this is the fifth day in the first chapter, and the person is in the square. He's come almost to the point where he's going to start his journey, and his notebook is almost full, which is how the fifth day begins. On the fifth day, the notebook was almost full, and I was sitting on the same table as the first day. There were a few small white clouds in the horizon, and the sunlight was glowing on the statues of the fountain in the strongest complexion so far that week. It softly blended with the surface of the water and created a mesmerizing mosaic of beauty and light, in a timeless moment that people had been watching for centuries. I suddenly felt deeply connected to history and the generations before me, and a gratitude to those who had made the little square and created the art for their future descendants. It was a moment of peace and of belonging, and I looked at the book that was waiting, my full cup of espresso, and picked up the pen to fill out the last pages of the notebook, and felt the sun over the pen as new words appeared in front of me. The morning had a slightly different feeling than the ones before, as I felt like the perception of the world around me had already become more aware, like there was a different way of sorting the thoughts and seeing a new depth to especially the artworks in the square and in the little town. It was somehow like my own existence had become part of a slightly larger context, one which was full of wisdom, beauty, deep values, and an enormous amount of knowledge. But it felt comforting. And this had all come only through my own reflection of my lived life so far. There was much more to discover. I leaned back, closed my eyes, and felt relaxed. It was like the ship had been loaded with goods and cargo, fully equipped for the journey ahead and ready to set sail. I lifted the cup and looked at the square. This had been a dear home for much of my life, and now it was about to give me even more for the future. I put down the cup and picked up the book finally, The Inferno by Dante Alighieri. The giant of the early Renaissance, and a portal to Europe's foundation and cultural history. I had saved this for much of my life, until the day I would feel ready and well prepared. And now the time had come. I sat for a while with the book in my hands, feeling a certain glow over myself, and hearing the faint sounds of people talking, the water of the fountain, a little breeze in the tree leaves, and the sun moving over the church front slowly. I waited for a few more moments, remembering my deep love of books and entering new worlds of the imagination or travels through unknown lands, exploring and getting lost in the words and experiencing new adventures and the lives of other people. A little book could change your life or change the direction of your life and give you gifts that might stay with you forever. I looked at the front cover and then slowly opened the first page, The Divine Comedy. I was expecting an archaic tale and style that would be difficult to relate to from my current times. But from the very first line, I was fully absorbed in a way that I had not experienced before. It was a work with a strong feeling of being outside of time and of being deeply human from the very first phrase. And there was already something new in my life that had not been there this morning. I had to stop, take another sip of the espresso, and then read the opening words again. And the sun was shining warmly, and some peaceful birds were gliding across the skies. So this is how the first chapter ends, and there's not that much to add to it. It's all laid out, my thinking here and what I wanted to express. But it's also interesting, like, so this was written last summer, and then reading it now again, like it's almost a year later. It's still some of these themes are timeless, like opening a new world with a new book or a new story, and then the sense of being more present. So a few of these lines are about that he's hearing the water and seeing things more clearly. Is this feeling of being, it's like when you feel that your senses become more strong, it's often a good sign that you have pushed away some other thoughts that are kind of swirling in your head, and then just feeling the moment and being present. And then this is also often a way of just feeling real happiness. So this is kind of where the story is now after the first chapter. We had just 3 chapters altogether. So this has been the warm up and the setup, and now from the moment the book was opened was this huge reward for the person, that it felt like not 700 years ago, but it kind of hits the person deep inside. And this is something that you can have with poetry, and especially Dante, which is because it is written with so many layers, and there's a deep there that kind of resonates through time, or kind of outside of time. So and what he's reading on the first page is the beginning of the next chapter. So we're going to stop there, and as always, thank you for watching, and hope you have a great day.